So let's talk about three ideas that are, well, pretty much the bedrock of the Christian worldview: faith, hope, and love. But here's the thing. These aren't just some abstract concepts floating around. The source material presents them as this deeply interconnected framework for how to actually live. Let's dive in and see how they all fit together.
And really, this whole discussion pretty much hinges on this one powerful verse from 1 Corinthians. It sets the stage perfectly, right? It tells us that a lot of things in life come and go, but these three, they're permanent. But it also, right from the jump, establishes a hierarchy. It says, hey, pay attention, because one of these, love, is the greatest of all.
You know, it's pretty amazing how you can see this whole framework packed into one of the most famous verses out there, John 3:16. The source material breaks it down so clearly. The action, giving his son, that's love. The condition to get in on this, believing, well, that's faith. And the result, the outcome of it all, eternal life, that is the ultimate hope. See? They're not just three separate ideas, they're all parts of a single flowing plan.
Okay, so let's break that plan down piece by piece. And we've got to start at the foundation, faith. This is the one that really makes the other two possible. It's the first essential step on the journey.
And the definition we get from the book of Hebrews is absolutely key here. It doesn't frame faith as some kind of blind leap in the dark. No, it uses words like being sure and being convinced. The crucial idea is that this conviction isn't based on what you can touch or see, but on a promise. It's a different kind of evidence, you could say.
So Hebrews gives us this incredible hall of faith, showing us what this looks like in real people's lives. It kicks off with Abel. His faith wasn't just a private feeling, it drove him to do something, to offer a greater sacrifice, showing he had a deeper understanding of who God was.
And then you get Noah. I mean, this is a fantastic example. His faith meant acting on a warning about something that had never happened before, a world-ending flood. Think about that. He built a giant boat based entirely on a promise about a future he absolutely could not see.
And what about Abraham? Talk about a giant of faith. He was told to just up and leave everything, his home, his family, his country, for a place he wasn't even told the location of. Now that is a profound level of obedience, and it's all based on trusting the one who made the promise.
Then there's Moses, and for him, faith was a very conscious choice. He literally weighed the temporary pleasures of being a prince in Egypt against the future reward of sticking with God's people, and he chose the future reward. He decided that the invisible promise was worth way more than all the gold he could see.
So this brings us to a really powerful contrast. You know, a common cynical view is that faith is just a crutch for people who can't handle the real world. But the source material completely flips that. It describes faith as a clutch, like in a car. It's what engages the power and allows you to succeed when everything is on the line. It's not a weakness, it's a source of incredible strength. All right, so if faith is the foundation that gets us started, then our second virtue, hope, is the anchor that keeps us steady. And we need to be clear, this is not about wishful thinking. The source defines it as a confident expectation for what's to come.
This metaphor from Hebrews is just so perfect, isn't it? Think about it. An anchor doesn't stop the storm from raging, but it holds the ship steady through the storm. And that's exactly what this hope does for the soul. It provides stability and security, especially when life gets turbulent.
So where does this kind of rock-solid hope even come from? Well, according to the Book of Romans, it's not something you're just handed. It's forged in fire. The process actually starts with suffering. That suffering builds endurance. That endurance, over time, develops proven character. And only from that tested, solid character can genuine hope emerge. It's a product of our trials, not a denial of them.
And here's the payoff for going through that whole forging process. You get a hope that, as the text says, does not disappoint. This isn't a flimsy, well, maybe kind of hope. No way. It's presented as a certainty, an anchor that holds fast because it's tied to the character of God, not our own shaky circumstances.
And that brings us to the very pinnacle of these three virtues, the big one, the one the source calls the greatest, love. And this is so much more than just a feeling or an action. It's presented as the very essence of God's character. We're talking about a specific kind of love here. The Greek word is agape, and the definition is so simple but so profound: the giving of self for the benefit of others. That's it. It's this sacrificial, selfless love that's focused entirely on the good of someone else. It becomes the ultimate measuring stick for everything. And you can see just how important this is right here. When Jesus was asked to name the single most important commandment, he boiled the entire religious law down to just two things: love God completely and love your neighbor as yourself. He said everything else, the entire moral code, hangs on these two principles. Love is the ultimate organizing principle.
I mean, just stop and think about this for a second. You could have the most spectacular, mountain-moving faith you could possibly imagine, but without love, this verse says you are nothing. That just perfectly shows why love is called the greatest. It's the one ingredient that gives meaning and purpose to everything else.
Okay, so we've talked about these ideas one by one, but what do they actually look like all woven together in a real person's life? Well, the source material gives us a perfect case study, the story of Ruth.
So let's just quickly walk through her story. Ruth is a foreigner, and her life falls apart. She loses her husband. But instead of going back home, she makes this radical pledge to stick with her mother-in-law, Naomi. Then, through what seems like total chance, she ends up in the field of a relative named Boaz, who steps up, redeems her, marries her, and their son ends up being the grandfather of King David himself.
And this is where it all clicks into place. Her love, you see it in her absolute devotion to Naomi. Her faith, it's right there in her pledge to follow Naomi's God, even though she was a foreigner. And her hope, she demonstrated it every single day, working tirelessly in the fields, just trusting that somehow they would be provided for. Her life story is this perfect living picture of all three virtues working together.
So after all of this, exploring these huge ideas, it really brings us back to a pretty big question. When all is said and done, what's the stuff that actually endures? What truly lasts?
And the source gives us a really clear answer. Things like prophecies, special knowledge, even miraculous gifts, they're all temporary. They serve a purpose for a time, and then they fade. But love? The text is emphatic. Love never ends. It is the one constant that will outlast everything else.
So I think the ultimate takeaway is this: faith, hope, and love aren't just a nice list of admirable qualities. They're presented as the enduring framework, the core components of a plan for spiritual transformation that are designed to last forever.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world that so often feels chaotic and temporary, how could this ancient framework, faith as our foundation, hope as our anchor, and love as our ultimate goal, how could that apply to building a truly meaningful life right here, right now? It's definitely something worth thinking about.